Hello and welcome back to the next video talking about the civilians. And where we left off, we were talking about the civilians of Fredericksburg and the fact that the civilians of Fredericksburg were not just around for the Battle of Fredericksburg, but there were three other notable engagements of the war that affected their lives. And one of those, the first one being May of 1863, the Battle of Chancellorsville was fought 11 miles away. A smaller engagement of this battle, as a part of this battle, was the Second Battle of Fredericksburg. And then a year later, in May of 1864, the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse occurred 11 miles to the southwest. And this was followed almost immediately by the Battle of the Wilderness, which was 15 miles directly to the west. Now, after the Battle of the Wilderness, the Union Army, which were now having much more success in battle, they made the town of Fredericksburg their hub for wounded soldiers, and there were thousands of wounded soldiers during the Battle of the Wilderness. Many Northern doctors, nurses, and patients descended on the town, and this created a lot of strife among the civilians, both inner strife and outer strife. A lot of these women, when faced with an injured enemy soldier, they had to decide whether to remain loyal to the Confederate cause or to show compassion for those suffering around them. And many diarists describe this inner struggle. But finally, by late 1864, the war left Fredericksburg for good. Now, another Civil War community I've done extensive research on is Gettysburg. Gettysburg was a very quiet town in southern Pennsylvania that had very little direct contact from the war until the summer of 1863. Now, they had had some um, rumors that were circulating of the rebels coming, and there were some threats that were in nearby cities, but nothing that really came to them. And the Union and the Confederacy met there. As you can see in this image, there's a lot of pretty fair sized roads that lead directly into Gettysburg. And it was a very decisive battle in favor of the Union, and it's considered to be the turning point of the war by many historians, coupled with the Battle of Vicksburg that I will talk about in a little while. So, this town is situated in the hills of the Blue Ridge Mountain, and Lee wanted to bring the war to the north for a variety of reasons. And Gettysburg, again, as this map shows, has many roads coming together. These roads made it easier for the troops to move through the mountains, and it also made it a prime place for the two armies to clash. Battle of Gettysburg raged for 3 days, and it very much affected the civilians living in the town. Upon hearing of the approaching Confederate army, most of Gettysburg's black residents fled. They feared that they would be captured and sold back into slavery. But as the Union armies marched through, many civilians did what they could do to help. Young women like 20-year-old Ginny Wade, who's a main character in The War Shall Rise Against Me, she baked bread and for the men and also gave them water. Other women, like schoolteacher Sally Myers, were immediately thrust into work nursing the wounded. And some civilians also joined the fight, like 69-year-old John Burns, a war veteran himself, and he took up his muskets against the Confederates. Finally, on a rainy day on July 4, Confederate General Lee retreated back south. Now, unlike at Fredericksburg, the victorious army did not stay behind for very long. This left the civilians of Gettysburg to do all of the cleanup. Bodies littered the streets and the fields. It was July in southern Pennsylvania. There had been 3 hot days of fighting, followed by a day of rain, and then followed by more days of heat. And reports describe a rancid scent that was so bad that women started taking perfumed handkerchiefs with them so they could mask the stench. So, battle's done. Civilians are left to do the cleanup, and I will continue telling that part of the story in my next video. So, thank you once again for joining me, and I hope to see you again next time.